let's just sew whatever. Today we are making the Blanche barrel bag from Swoon Sewing Patterns, but we're using waterproof canvas for the binding because you guys know I can't get enough. The only interfacing I used on this bag is Dolce Fuse on the main fabric panels, and then I used foam interfacing for main panel, side panel, and then on the bottom panel I just used Decaville Heavy, which is like Pellon 525 or something like that. And then yeah, we used waterproof canvas for the binding. On the inside, you can't see it at all. Yeah, you can't see it. Trust me, it's there. I like it. I really like it. I don't know that I'll be making a bunch more. I feel like overall, what time did I start? This took about an hour and a half to 2 hours to sew. And I mean, that's me. I've been sewing bags for 6 years. So that's pretty quick. That's about how long on average it takes me to sew up a bag. Cutting and interfacing also went pretty quick, but I have a couple of tricks for that. These connectors are from the Elaine handbag by me at Mormino.com, and I like the way they look. But yeah, that's it. My vinyl is from FM Stores and More in Springfield, Missouri, and then the Goosebumps fabric is one that I designed, and then all the hardware is on my website. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this tutorial, and here we go. Oh yeah, pricing. Pricing for this bag, I would probably put it at about $140. Okay. Okay, so I've got my crossbody strap out of the way. I've got my main handles out of the way, which I cut to 3 inches wide by 22 inches long. And I'm gonna go ahead and start on the side pockets. So I've just kind of got this stacked here to where I can move most quickly. So it's side pockets, side panels, and then I am using binding for this bag. Hopefully it works out. If you're watching this, you'll have known. And I've got my main panels, everything's ready to go. I used Dolce Fuse for the first time and I really enjoy the way it feels. And I'm using Decaville Heavy for the bottom of the bag, and then single-sided fusible foam, but I'm not fusing it. And then I'm just using a little bit of piping in the pockets on the side, but I'm not going to add piping to the panels on the side of the bag, only because I'm a little bit worried about how it's going to turn out with the binding. So I haven't done binding and piping at the same time, so I'm not ready for that yet. So I'm gonna go ahead and iron my piping really quick and we'll work on the side pockets. Okay. So for these side pockets, I'm using vinyl and waterproof canvas to line it. I went ahead and cut my waterproof canvas a little bit wider because I'm just going to end up basting it and trimming it down anyway, so I'm not super worried about it. I'm gonna go ahead and baste the binding into place. So I'm putting it face down on top of this side pocket. Go ahead and grab this panel too. Oh, that would have been wrong. I'm really curious to see how the color combo is going to turn out. It's a bit colorful of a bag so far. But like, it's gonna be good. Okay. You can save your little piping piece. I always love having those little scrap pieces on hand. Never hurts. Okay, and then right sides together. And I'll go ahead and flip this because you're going to sew just a little ways down from that initial stitch line. And I would say if you are new to working with piping, adding it to a side pocket like this is a great introduction. It's less intimidating. It's not as big of a piece if you accidentally mess it up. So you just want to come in from that stitching about 1/8 of an inch. You can kind of feel the piping, and you want to sew just barely through it. You really want it to be nice and tight. And then I'm just going to finger press this since I'm working with vinyl. But yeah, so you'll see just that little tiny bit. And then I'm just basting the extreme outer edge of this. Trim down the extra waterproof canvas. And I do have a trash can on the edge of my table, so like when you see that motion, it is going somewhere. So there's our little side pocket. Can't forget to add my strap connectors before I add these side pockets. That would suck. I have made this bag several times, but this will be my first time using binding to finish it off. I've done the drop-in method, and I think there's videos of it if you look in Sew Whatever, my Facebook group, and search Blanche barrel bag and my name. I think there's an old live video of me sewing it as a drop-in, but I can't remember. I know that I've tried to make it a non-drop-in before by adding zipper tabs, and it kind of worked, but it definitely wasn't easy. So yeah, we will be adding zipper tabs to this version as well. So hoping that works out. I'm gonna cut my strap connectors to 5 inches long. Wait, no, I did not want to do that. Let's see. So I've cut this to 6 inches. I'm just gonna cut some zipper tabs later on. So yeah, we'll cut these down to 5 inches. They can be however long you want. I just did a brain fart. So, bummer. Okay. Double-sided tape down the center. You could also use a little piece of waterproof canvas as interfacing for this piece, a little stabilizer. Just a little piece if you want. You could also use a method called a hidden strap connector on that side panel if you wanted to. I think that would look really cool. I feel like I've done it before. Yeah, I did like a really fancy leather Blanche. It kicked my butt. I think I sold the bag. It was really pretty, but very difficult to do. So yeah, we're just folding these in half, long raw edges towards the center. We'll get some more double-sided tape and fold the raw edges in somewhat towards the center. I always like to go a little bit lower, so like 2/3, and add add my D-ring that way. That way there's more fabric to reinforce up here, because that's where most of the pulling action's gonna be. Just a little tidbit. Okay, so then I'm going to use double-sided tape again on the wrong side of the connector. So when we stick that down, it'll stay in place. So then I'm gonna grab my side panels. I'm gonna go ahead and baste everything in place really quick. Baste my foam, I'm not fusing it. And then we'll add these connectors. So basting that is just gonna help compress the foam. You can also, if you have a domestic, follow the instructions, of course, for minimizing the bulk of the foam. So I'm going to fold these in half just to get that center mark. And then I'm going to measure, I'm going to do 2 inches down from the top. I'm sure it's in the pattern. It might be like 2.5 inches or something, but yeah, that feels right. Place that connector. I think it would look really cool if you did kind of like a mashup of the Dallas duffel and the Blanche bag, Blanche barrel bag. Oh, I think I made that one a non-drop-in using the zipper tab method or something. Anyway, but doing like those striped connectors on the Blanche, I think it would look super cool. Is that centered? Yeah, that's centered. And I am going to be sewing just a little tiny square underneath that connector, and that's where I'll add a rivet. I'm using this little piece of leather to protect my hardware and vinyl from being scuffed. All right, and then we'll add those side pockets. And I'm just going to clip this on in a few places because I'm also going to be basting my lining fabric to this as well. Ooh, look at those colors. Okay. So yeah, I'm just going to use a little bit of a spray baste. Oh wait, well, yeah, I'll just rivet through that. It's not going to matter. I'll rivet through my lining too. So yeah, I just cut this way bigger than it needs to be because again, I'm just going to trim it down. What does it matter? And then again, just basting in that 1/8 of an inch. We'll just trim that down. Oh, this feels so sturdy. I'm so excited. And then if your layers are slightly uneven at this point, you can trim them to be completely even. And any extra threads. All right, so these panels are done. I'm gonna go ahead and quickly rivet them. Okay, and then I'm going to be adding, I should say, next up in my to-do list is my interior zippered pocket. You can add another slip pocket, you could add another zippered pocket, you can add all kinds of pockets to this bag, but because of the shape, like those side pockets aren't easily in and outable unless you kind of make it like a cargo slip pocket or something. So I'm just adding one zippered pocket. We do not need to leave a birthing hole open because we're just gonna turn the bag through after we add the binding. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and do a sped up version of it. All right, so technically my lining panels are finished, so I'm gonna set those aside for now. And then we can work on the main panels. So before I baste my the foam on, what I'm going to do is add my vinyl overlay and my handle connectors. And that's so that the foam isn't like perforated at those spots and it becomes like a little bit puffy. And that's not a look that I enjoy. Oh, crap. I should have changed my bobbin first. Let's all just say a little prayer so that I don't run out of bottom thread. You could edge coat this raw edge if you wanted to, or you could add some piping. I've added piping to these overlays before and they look really cool. I just want to go nice and slow. Did we make it? Did we make it? We made it. And then I'm going to baste it on the other sides. And now if I run out, that's fine. Cool. I did. Fine with me. So there's that one. Okay. So we'll base this side on. To keep this in place better, you can use that spray based if you want, or you could use a little bit of double-sided tape, or Fabri-Tac if you wanted. So those are basted on. And now we're gonna work on the strap connectors. These are not the Blanche strap connectors. These are from my pattern, the Elaine handbag, which are loosely based off of Swoon's Louise barrel bag connectors. So whatever you feel like using, go for it. You could also just use either like some triangle strap anchors, or you could just use square strap connectors, or like I said, maybe do something like the Dallas duffel. That would look super cool. Or if you've made the Harriet from Swoon, you could try something like that, where your connectors are like down within this overlay and then they stop. That might look kind of cool. Basically all that to say, just do what you want. Patterns or suggestions. All right, so I added double-sided tape to all of those connectors, and then where that little trapezoidal notch is, you fold in over that stabilizer, and then I'm going to start at the fold, back stitch, stitch forward, and then come back down the other side and stop at the same place. And then I usually do all of them at the same time, but I was just showing you, and then I'll speed through the other three so you can see. And then I peel off the rest of the tape, and then I'll usually add a little bit more to the tip of that connector. Got my square rings here. I'm using 3/4 inch wide hardware. You just slide through. Until about there. So you fold it under about 1 inch, which is usually a good amount of stabilization. And then I add even more tape over top. And then sewing these on, there's a few different methods. You could just sew around here and add a rivet. That's usually best for domestic machines. It's not the most stability, but it is a good amount. You've got the weight here and there. But what I like to do is come around, go down, back up, and then add a rivet. So have fun. All right, so now we are going to place the strap connectors. I probably should have checked the pattern, but I'm pretty sure it's 2.5 inches down from the top that you place the connectors. 2, 3, 4. I'm gonna go 2 inches. I think it might be 2.5 if you're making it the way the pattern suggests, and I am not. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm gonna place that there, or maybe 5, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then there's my strap connector. And I'm actually placing this part up against my ruler. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then there's my strap connector, and then that goes flat. So the edge of your strap connector is actually 3.5 inches in, and then your actual hardware is at the 4 inches. So hopefully that makes sense, and hopefully it doesn't shift on us. There's that there. I'm gonna go ahead and place the other one while I'm remembering that. So I did 2 inches down from the top, and I'm using this little 14 by 4 inch ruler. I always keep this by my machine because it's pretty perfect for placing strap hardware and stuff. 3, 4. Okay. Probably should have used more tape, but that's okay. Okay, so now I'm going to attach this hardware. Editing Lauren will be zooming in for you. But I just sew starting at the left side of the top flat edge of the connector. Go nice and slow until the other side. And the way these connectors are shaped on an industrial, you should be able to get around it with your walking foot. If you have a 1541, I don't know if you'll be able to, but anyway. And sometimes I'll get a little fancier with these strap connectors and I'll do like a second line of stitching, but not this time. It'll look cute. And then when I add my rivet is after I've basted on the foam. So that way it's got a little extra something something. And my stitch length is a 4.5. I don't know if that helps or not. I just love these connectors. They're so cute. So there is my main panel. And I'll go ahead and baste my foam now. It's up to you. I'm not using the fusible properties of this interfacing, so okay, so I cut my main panel to the size of my foam because I'm not doing the zipper the way the pattern shows. However, I should have followed my first instinct, which was to cut it only 1/2 inch smaller than the pattern states. So right there, I think I might have a couple issues. So the foam is cut 1 inch shorter than the main panel is stated in the pattern. So I was like, okay, well, I'll just do that. But like I said, my first thought was maybe just 1/2 inch because I still need to add the seam allowance for attaching my zipper. So fingers crossed everything works out okay. Okay, so I'm gonna set that aside and we'll work on this other one. And I'll just go ahead and time lapse through this. All right, so now things are gonna get fun, hopefully. I am going to be adding a zipper to the top, as a bag has. However, in order to reduce bulk and reduce chances of the bag having any issues, we're going to need to add zipper tabs. So I want my finished zipper to be, of course, 14 inches long, as the pattern is. And this is for the large. I don't know if that matters to you guys. But I want to have 1-inch zipper tabs to encase my zipper. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut my zipper down to 14 inches. If there's a little overhang of my zipper tabs, it's not going to be the end of the world. However, you want to make sure that your zipper tabs are equal on those sides. So I'll go ahead and cut my zipper tabs really quick. I'm going to be cutting them to 2 inches to 2. I'm going to start with 2.5 inches and see how I like that. 2.5 inches by 1.25 wide. So same width as your zipper. You could cut it wider, trim it down, which is probably what I'll do. So yeah. All right, zipper tabs. So I am going to lay them down, face down over the zipper, 3/4 of an inch of the edge of the zipper showing. So that way when I flip it over and whatnot is where I want it. So zipper face up, 3/4 of an inch of the zipper showing, and then place the tab in place. And I'm just using like 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, so there is my inch of zipper tab. Am I making this up as I go along? Yes. Yes, I am. Okay, so making the zipper tab this way means that there is no raw edge, but it's also not super bulky. So that's why we're doing it that way. And then the zipper itself is enclosed, so it's not going to fray over time. So that's why we're doing it that way. So I'm then folding over the rest of the zipper tab like that. So it's raw edged on the back side, but that's not a big deal. And then we'll top stitch it in place. Was this super necessary? No, we probably could have just done 2 pieces of fabric underneath and on top, but whatever. If you are going to try and make your item without a drop-in, without binding, etc., you would like cut that open and try to sew your lining pieces to the lining and your exterior to the exterior of that zipper tab. But I think this is going to work great. So I'm just going to top stitch that zipper tab. And trim all my excess. All right, so now if my tab is a little bit wider than my zipper tape, I'm going to trim it down. I want it to be the exact same width so that my seam allowances don't get wonky. Okay. Pretty good, pretty good. All right, so then if your zipper is longer than your main panel, what you're gonna wanna do is center it out. Looks pretty good. I don't like using those clips. It takes so much effort to like open and clip and unclip. Only when I have to hold together really thick stuff. All right, so zipper clipped along the top, and I'm going to base that in place. So this is where that 1/2 inch needed to stay. I'm pretty sure. This might work out, but I am going to use pretty small seam allowances because I think I can make up that 1/2 inch between my lining top and my lining and exterior bottom panel. This might not make much sense to you, but if I don't say it out loud, I won't remember what I'm doing, I guess. Anyway. So I'm just using like 1/4 of an inch seam allowance to attach the zipper. But if you added that 1/2 inch to the foam piece as for your exterior and lining, you wouldn't need to. You would just use a full 1/2 inch seam allowance. It makes sense in my head, but I apologize to you if it's not making sense. Okay, don't forget a nameplate. For anyone who has asked where I get my nameplates, I do have a video called All About Nameplates where I've shared sources for where I've gotten my zipper, no, not zipper, my nameplates. All right, so I'm going to iron this from the lining side to press it down, and then we'll fold it open and top stitch. Watch out for those vinyl pieces. All right, top stitch. And I am top stitching through my exterior and my lining. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. Super happy with that already. All right, so now I'll get my other lining panel and my other exterior panel, but let me add that nameplate first, or I'll be very sad. This overlay is quite long, so I'm gonna add it 2 1/4 from the bottom, and I know that 7 is my center. So you just pretty much center out the nameplate, make your marks, and then your nameplate should come with a washer. If not, you might be able to make one out of Peltex or something and just make sure that you secure it. The very first time I ordered, and I mentioned this in the nameplate video, the very first time I ordered nameplates, I didn't know they needed a washer. And they were not provided. So like all the bags I made, the nameplate fell out. So big bummer. My friend Trish, who ordered from the same place that I used to order from, said that you can buy washers from the supplier if they didn't come with them. So that's a long story to tell you, but there is my nameplate. And so we'll just repeat those steps of basting the zipper in place and then adding our lining. And basting the zipper in place basically is going to help with any wonkiness that might occur otherwise. So always a good idea if you're worried about that to baste your zipper in place first. Okay, and then right sides together. So your lining should be facing each other and your exterior should be facing each other. And then again, I'm just using that like 1/4 inch seam allowance to put this together. Okay. So then I'm gonna press the lining using my iron and top stitch through exterior and lining. Woo, 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 woo. If I were following this pattern, no, here's the thing. I don't like drop-ins. Some people do. Some people rock drop-in linings. You go, okay? Don't go away, but I mean, like, oh, you go. I don't like them. So, where am I going with that? Oh, interfacing. Right now, this bag with just the Dolce Fuse and the foam is feeling a little bit thin. I really would have liked Decaville Light. However, that binding is really going to give the bag a lot of structure. It acts like a spine, especially it being waterproof canvas. So, not super worried about that. I'm going to go ahead and add the purse feet to my bottom panel. But other than that, this bag is like done. It's insane. Hopefully it turns out okay. So I'm gonna add the purse feet 1 inch from each side of the Decaville heavy. So that's technically 1.5 inches from each outer edge. And then at the 7 inch or 6.5 inch from the Decaville, I'll be adding a piece, adding a 5th purse foot. I sell purse feet in packs of 5, so I always like to add 5 purse feet to my bags. I think it's nice because if you think about all of the items sitting within your purse, kind of like the center of gravity is going to go there, so that 1 is going to help hold everything up. But you could also add 6 if you wanted. You can do whatever you want and stop listening to me. I don't know. Okay, grabbing my duct tape. And non-stick scissors. That helps me keep the purse feet in place and protects my hands when like turning the bag from getting cut on the hardware. I am looking into screw-on purse feet because I think they look really cool. I know Saya Swag Bags sells screw-on purse feet, so if you're interested in trying them out, feel free to check out her website. But I think if I have them made, I'll probably get like a really wide top screw or include washers as well so that it's just like extra secure. Okay, so the duct tape, I just lay flat across so we sew through it. Perfect. All right, and then we're gonna grab exterior of the bag and lay this in place. Now again, I need to make up for the fact that my seam allowance isn't quite right. So instead of that 1/2 inch seam allowance, I'm gonna go a tiny bit less, which shouldn't be too big of an issue because of that stabilizer. We just wanna sew like right next to it, not through it. And so I'm just giving myself an even bigger leeway. I would say I'm probably using like a 3/8 inch seam allowance. I'm gonna lay this flat and top stitch. Beautiful. And then I'm going to repeat that with the other side. However, this time top stitching is going to look a little bit different. So I'm going to make sure I have my main zipper unzipped. Line that up. Oh, then. Get down. Okay, I'll move this stuff. I'm moving it. All right, there you go. It's all for you. Just getting that bottom panel really quick. All right. So we're gonna open it up. Lay our seam allowance flat. And you're just gonna put the zipper tab and zipper past your sewing machine foot to sew on that bottom panel. I'll switch the angle. We're getting to the point where it wouldn't hurt for you guys to see from this angle anyway. Ben, you are gonna have to move. I'm gonna hit you and I will feel no remorse. And so as I'm sewing this, I'm pulling those layers apart. You want to make sure that your lining pieces are not caught underneath or anything like that. And then just going to slightly pull. And then lift up over. Okay, so then we can add the bottom panel. Oh wait, yeah. Anyway, yeah, because it has to be, all right, I can do this. This is no problem. I got this. All right, we're gonna add the bottom panel here. And we're gonna get a little inventive for the last bit of the lining. Because I didn't really think about the fact that, like, it has to be a circle, you know? Well, yeah, no, I think that could work still, right? I am, however, going to be using a fairly small stitch length because you don't want your lining to be too small compared to the exterior, so. And then I'm not going to worry about top stitching that, but you absolutely could if you wanted to. Okay, so I'm just trimming up all my excess little bits here. And then I'm gonna put the bag inside of itself. And then what I'm gonna do is line up these seams. And I'm just gonna quickly clip all the way around because I wanna make sure that there's no puckering I want to make sure that my lining and my exterior are pretty exact on size. This side looks fabulous. Let's see about this one. Again, lining up the bottom panel first, those seams. Looks good there. Okay, everything seems pretty good. Pretty good. So what I'm gonna do now to get my shorty back, all right, is just baste those layers together. And honestly, like, I don't know. If you were gonna add piping, no, you wouldn't want to add it to this part. No, never mind. I am kind of pulling on all the layers to make sure there's no puckering. Oh, this is so exciting. I really hope that my side panels fit into place. My heart would not go on if it didn't. I think it's going to. Yeah. Might need to increase my seam allowance slightly. Well, I don't know. We'll see. All right, so what I'm gonna do is fold the bottom panel in half to find my center and make a snip within the seam allowance. And then zip my zipper up about halfway. And it couldn't hurt to find the center on the zipper tab too. No, I'm not going to. All right, switching the camera. All right, sorry. Okay, on these side panels, we're gonna go ahead and fold them in half and snip the center. And I'm doing that by lining up the side panel pocket, just as like a precaution. Stapler, we may not. We'll find out. Okay, so I know that my bottom snips, so I'm going to line those up. Make sure that your exteriors are facing each other and your linings are facing each other. I'm going to clip. I'm going to start with like 2 clips along the bottom. It's pretty thick with all those layers. So my main worry with how I've cut this is that my side panel is going to be too big by probably 1/4 to 1/2 inch. That's my worry. It may not be true, but I'm definitely worried. How many times can I say the word worry? A lot. Okay, so clipping around all that. So with vinyl as my side pocket and my side panel, things are pretty thick. I definitely wouldn't recommend a domestic machine for this portion. And if you do, make sure you're not using vinyl that many times. Guys, I think it fits. It fits. I'm so proud of myself. But if you're wanting to follow the seam allowances, make sure that you cut your main panel only 1/2 inch smaller than the pattern states. You can cut your foam 1/2 inch bigger, or you can leave it smaller if you want, but yeah, that's cutting it pretty darn close there. Ooh, hello. So up to you if you want to clip both sides at once. I think I'm gonna work on the one and then clip the other so that I can get my hand in the side and top stitch around. Okay. So we're just gonna be following a very small stitch. No, we're gonna do like a size 4 stitch length. I'm gonna start on this flat point here, and we're just gonna do like a 3/8 inch seam allowance situation. But you want to make sure that you're catching all those layers and that you're keeping the shape of the bag consistent. So like this curve is difficult, but using that glitter vinyl is a little bit to my advantage in this situation because it sticks together. So like I said earlier, I can use having not clipped that other side to my advantage by sticking my hand in there, making sure the shape is going all right. But I mean, you could also do it just through the top zipper, so I guess it doesn't really matter. You're just gonna go really slow on that curve. And I'm adding more clips as I go, because why not? Some might say that using a cylinder arm for this portion would be beneficial. Probably not wrong, if you have one you like. Making sure those layers are together. Getting back to where we started. So I'll trail off within my seam allowance, trim the excess. And then I can check inside to make sure everything's gone okay. So I can press up against those seams, make sure I caught all of my fabric. You could probably like turn it through to double check that you're liking the way it's looking. But I'm almost done and I don't want to get discouraged in case I don't like the way it's turning out. So I'm going to go ahead and clip the other side, sew it with a time lapse, and then we'll add the binding. Okay, time to add the binding. So we're just gonna follow that same method. This is from the Lynn Sport mini backpack from Lynn's Handmade. This is not my method. I am just obsessed with using binding for bags now that I can use waterproof canvas. So I like to fold it so that it's wider on the bottom than it is on the top where I'm actually going to be sewing. And this doesn't add like a ton more bulk to your bag. Like waterproof canvas can get thick when you start to fold it a lot, but this isn't that much waterproof canvas, you know? But I say that with an industrial machine, so your experience may be a little different. Yeah, so I'm just folding this around. And you're going to be covering up part of that zipper tab, but you can trim the excess from the other side. I cut my binding to 37 inches or 34 inches. Yeah, it was 34 inches. You can also use regular binding if you want. Okay. So I cut it way longer than need be on purpose. I'm just going to trim it down. And then she has you kind of trim off at an angle so that when you fold it over, there's less bulk. Okay. So there's that all trimmed in place. So I'm going to start here at the bottom. And you don't want to sew past your existing seam allowance. You're just kind of going across what's already there. But yeah, this is where we're adding that like spine basically. So I'm just reclipping as I go. And I like to kind of use those clips to, one, hold the binding in place, but kind of like push it into place along those curves too. I just kind of hold the clip open as it's sewing and let it slide. I'm gonna go pretty slow for that though. Let me zoom in a little better. There we go. So hopefully you can see, kind of open the clip, let it slide a little bit. Bobbin got me. I was gonna suggest changing the thread before you start this, especially if you're using like a different color thread than your lining. You might want to switch to one that matches your lining. Should have done it. Okay, so I'm just gonna lift up and go back to where I was. Shove that back under the machine. Well, I'm already out. Gonna reclip. Grab my bobbin thread while I'm here. Come on. And restart little ways up. Smaller screwdriver. I'm not sure if you can see it, but the inner foot on my machine is a little loose. So it kept kind of turning one way or the other. Anyway, there we go. Okay. Trimming down all those excess threads. Making sure I caught the binding along all sides, and I did. Okay. We're just gonna repeat that on this other side. Okay, moment of truth. I'm not super jazzed about my side panel installation, but let's just see. You can see that is adding a lot of stability. Very structurally sound. If you need to, you can trim down any excess binding or something if you wanted to. We're just gonna go for it. So I'm gonna start with the bottom corner. Pull that through. I'm gonna be gentle around that zipper, just in case. And pull out the bottom of the purse first. So thankful that my hands don't hurt like they used to. Pregnancy carpal tunnel is no joke. Nor is just regular old carpal tunnel, because they're pretty similar, I'm guessing. So this would be why people prefer drop-ins, because then you don't have to birth the bag, you don't have to turn it. You don't have to go through such a traumatic experience. And you're less likely to have like really bad creasing, stuff like that. So whatever you have the patience for, you go for it. Okay, so I'm gonna press along that side panel. And this zipper tab here, you want to push up. If there's any, I thought I got all my spare threads, but I guess I didn't. Push that. You really want to press on that seam so that it sits nicely. So I'm going to press on that. That's zipped up. Okay. Zip that up. Why does it look weird? No, maybe not. I think it's because the handles aren't on. Let's see if that does it for me. Okay, so I am just going to be riveting these handles on, but I always like to clip my handles in place first because I like to know, is the length good? Are they even? Etc. Yeah, I feel like maybe I needed to add Decaville White to these main panels or something. Or another layer of the Dolce Fuse because it just doesn't have that like oomph that I like a bag to have. Totally not the interfacing's fault in any way, shape, or form. That is all just my personal preference. Okay, it's definitely better with the handles on. You can see my bottom edge looks a little funky maybe. Just kind of seems a little funky. Maybe not. That one looks good. Is it? It might just be me. It could be the bulk at the top of the zipper panel as well. But once you get stuff in here, it's not going to be too bad. I like where the zipper pocket is placed. That seems pretty good. And then these side pockets are definitely handy to have. So let's go ahead and add that crossbody strap. So yeah, let me go ahead and rivet on those handles really quick. If you need to, you can just push through one side at a time and then rivet it together. Here she is, little lopsided lady. I think it's a little lopsided. I mean, really though, it's not that bad. I definitely like it more now that I've added the handles on. I really like the handle length. It's not quite, I mean, a barrel bag isn't one you really want to put under your arm anyway, but I think it's a nice handle size. But yeah, nice and sturdy. I really like it. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you're going to make this bag, I'd love to know. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye. If I sew it like that, I can just turn it inside of itself, right? No. Would it work? Well, you know what? I'm going to staple it and find out. We're learning together. This is fine. I hope you didn't come here for like a professional tutorial. Because if you did, oh God, am I so sorry. Okay. So I've stapled it way within, this doesn't matter, you don't need to know this. But now I'm seeing like, could I turn it on itself? I feel like yes is the answer. Yeah, okay, great. Great, okay. So, I don't have to get inventive. Maybe I'll include that at the end. Nobody needs to really see that.